My name is Lara Quinn. I am 35 years old, and the moment my family finally heard me was the moment they wished I had stayed silent. It happened on a bright July afternoon in a backyard that smelled like charcoal and citrus, with 28 people watching and pretending not to. My older brother raised a glass, smiled the way he always did when he believed the room belonged to him, and called me the mistake our family never quite recovered from. My mother laughed, not out of cruelty but out of habit, the kind that forms when one voice dominates long enough. My father said nothing at all, which in our house had always counted as agreement. I stood there with a drink I had not touched and a truth I had been carrying for months, and for a second I considered doing what I had always done, lowering my eyes, swallowing the moment, letting it pass. Instead, I lifted my glass, returned the toast in a voice that did not shake, and watched as every version of me they had rehearsed quietly fell apart. But that moment did not begin in the backyard. It began 5 months earlier at 6:18. In the morning with a notification on my phone and a decision I made not to speak yet. The notification came from an account I was not supposed to watch anymore, a shared account that had once been a safety net and had quietly become something else. I remember the way the light looked in my bedroom that morning, pale and indifferent, the way winter mornings always are, as if the day has not decided whether it will participate. 3 withdrawals sat on the screen, identical amounts, spaced just far enough apart to look like coincidence if you did not know what you were looking at. $9,800, repeated 3 times in today's, each transfer routed through a name I did not recognize. It was the number that mattered, the deliberate precision of it, the quiet intelligence behind it. Whoever had done this understood limits, understood systems, understood how to stay just below the threshold where questions begin. I did not call my parents. I did not call my brother. I did not even take a screenshot right away. I set the phone down, stood up, and walked to the kitchen where the coffee maker clicked in its usual rhythm, and I let myself feel the shape of what I was seeing before I decided what to do with it. In our family, confrontation had never produced truth. It had only produced louder stories, and I had learned very early that if you wanted something to hold, you built it quietly. So I began to build. I went back through statements I had access to, cross-reference dates, match signatures, trace transfers through accounts that should not have been connected. I created a timeline that started to look less like coincidence and more like intention. It stretched from November into December, from December into January, and by February it had a pattern that could not be explained away by forgetfulness or error. The more I gathered, the less I spoke. I kept everything in a black folder, one I slid into the back of my closet behind a row of winter coats I no longer wore. I did not open it every day, only when I needed to add something new, another statement, another printed confirmation, another piece of proof that the quiet I had lived with my whole life had not been emptiness but observation. Time moved the way it always does when you are waiting for something to reveal itself fully, slow in the moment, fast in memory. March passed, then April, then May, and with each passing week the numbers grew, the pattern deepened, and the person at the center of it became impossible to ignore. It was my brother, of course it was, the one who had always known how to take up space, how to turn attention into currency, how to move through rooms as if they had been designed for him. I did not hate him, not even then, which surprised me. What I felt was something quieter and more difficult to name, a kind of clarity that comes when a story you have been told your entire life finally reveals its missing pieces. By June, I knew enough to act, but I still chose not to, not yet. Because timing, I had learned, is not about urgency, it is about impact. And there was a moment coming when the truth would not just be heard, it would be seen. The 4th of July had always been our family's largest gathering, a tradition that predated most of my memories, a day when everyone showed up and played their parts with practiced ease. My brother would tell stories, my mother would host, my father would observe, and I would fill in the gaps no one else noticed, refilling drinks, adjusting chairs, making sure the day moved smoothly without ever being acknowledged for it. This year was no different on the surface. I arrived early, set my bag down in the same place I always did, greeted the same people with the same careful warmth. My brother arrived later, perfectly timed, stepping out of his car with that effortless confidence that had always been mistaken for success. He hugged my mother first, joked with my father, clapped a cousin on the back, and when he saw me, he gave a smile that carried just enough familiarity to pass as affection. I returned it because I knew something he did not, and that knowledge had already shifted the balance between us. The afternoon unfolded in predictable rhythms, laughter rising and falling, conversations overlapping, the air thick with the comfort of repetition. And then, just after noon, he stood up. He lifted his glass, tapped it lightly with a knife, and the room quieted the way it always did for him. He had always been good at that, at gathering attention without asking for it, at making people lean in without realizing they were doing it. He looked at me as he spoke, not with anger but with amusement, as if I were a line in a story he had told many times before. To my sister, he said, "The one who taught us all what not to become." The laughter came quickly, easily, because it fit. The version of me they all understood, the quiet one, the overlooked one, the safe target. For a moment, everything aligned exactly as it always had, and then it didn't. I stood up. I lifted my glass. I waited just long enough for the laughter to settle into expectation. "I would like to respond," I said, and my voice did not ask for permission. The shift was immediate, subtle but unmistakable, the way a room changes when something unfamiliar enters it. I looked at him, then at the people around us, and I spoke not loudly but clearly enough that every word landed exactly where it needed to. "Tio, the one who has been transferring money out of our parents' account for 147 days, I said. The silence that followed was not confusion, it was recognition, the sudden awareness that something real had just been introduced into a space that had always been carefully managed. My brother's expression did not change right away, which was its own kind of answer. I continued, not because I needed to but because I had learned that truth, once begun, does not benefit from hesitation. 3 withdrawals in February, 4 in March, 5 in May, I said, each one just under the reporting limit, each one routed through accounts that do not belong to you. My father stood up then slowly, as if the act of standing might help him understand what he was hearing. "What is she talking about?" he asked, and for the first time there was uncertainty in his voice. My brother opened his mouth, closed it, looked around, searching for something to hold on to, a familiar script, a quick deflection, a way to turn the moment back into something he controlled. There wasn't one. I set my glass down and reached for my bag, pulled out the black folder, and placed it on the table between us. It made a small, solid sound, the kind that does not echo but still fills the space. "Everything is in here," I said, not as a threat but as a statement. My father stepped forward and opened it, his movements deliberate, careful, the way he had always approached anything that mattered. He read the first page, then the second, then the third, and with each one his face shifted, not dramatically, but enough that you could see the structure of his understanding rearranging itself. My mother sat down, her hand covering her mouth, not in shock but in recognition, as if something she had sensed but never named had finally been given form. My brother took a step back, then another, the distance between him and the table growing, in a way that felt larger than the space itself. "I was going to fix it," he said finally, and the words sounded smaller than they ever had coming from him. "You had time," I said, not unkindly, just accurately. "You just did not think anyone was keeping track." No one spoke for a long moment after that. The air felt different, heavier, not with tension but with truth, the kind that settles into a room and changes the way everything in it exists. My father closed the folder and looked at my brother, not with anger but with something steadier, something that did not need to raise its voice to be heard. "We are going to the bank tomorrow," he said. and there was no question in it. My brother did not argue, because for the first time he did not have a version of the story that would hold. The rest of the afternoon passed without performance, without the easy laughter that had filled it before, replaced by something quieter, more honest. People left earlier than usual, conversations ended mid-sentence, the familiar rhythm of the day disrupted in a way that could not be smoothed over. That night, after everyone was gone, my mother found me sitting alone on the back steps. She did not sit right away, just stood there for a moment as if deciding how to enter a conversation she had never had before. "I did not see it," she said, finally, and it was not an excuse, it was an admission. "I know," I said, and for the first time in a long time, that was enough. The next weeks unfolded in a series of necessary steps, accounts reviewed, access revoked, plans made to repair what could be repaired. Not everything could be, but enough could that the damage did not become irreversible. My brother left the state before the end of the month, not dramatically, just quietly, the way people do when they understand that the version of themselves they relied on no longer works in the place they have been living. We do not speak now, not out of anger but out of accuracy, because some relationships do not end with conflict, they end with clarity. My father calls me more often, short conversations that do not try to fill space, just acknowledge it. My mother asks questions, small ones at first, then slightly larger, each one a step towards something she is still learning how to name. And me, I wake up in the mornings the same way I always have, before the alarm, before the day has decided what it will be, but now the silence feels different. It is not something I am surviving, it is something I am choosing. Because the truth, once spoken, does not just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. And for the first time in my life, I am not waiting for someone else to understand my story. I am living it, fully, without asking for permission, without shrinking it to fit a version that was never mine. If you have ever been the quiet one, in a room full of louder voices, if you have ever known something you were not ready to say yet, remember this: silence is not weakness, it is preparation, and when you finally speak, you do not need to be loud to be heard, you only need to be certain.